Now for business updates across the globe, Rotus Oddiri joins us. Good morning, Rotus.
Good morning, Ayo. Good morning. I almost said Rufai. Good morning, Dr. Abati. Good morning. And good morning, Rufai. Good morning to all our viewers. Look, that interview on Newsnight, I had to pick out something there on foreign exchange with the General Christopher Musa, FX, and how everything is intertwined in respect to, the military investment and, of course, our security. Again,
manufacture any of the items we use, we buy them in dollars. And so if you look at the amount that has been released and convert them to dollars, how much are they, how much? For example, the 1 billion that was released for in the past, these 12 Super Tucanos that were bought for over $600 million out of 1 billion. That's almost gone. How much do you buy MRAPs? How much do you buy APCs? How much do you buy tanks? How much do you buy ships? How much do you buy aircrafts? So you find out that with the monies you do, when you convert them to dollars, you are not even getting much. For every piece of ammunition we buy them in foreign currency. And we buy them in millions because you use them quickly. So I think people should really understand that, yes, we cannot get everything that we know. It's not possible. No nation gets what it gets. The American budget next year for defense is $843 billion. They manufacture their equipment. They buy these equipments. And other countries, China, Germany, Britain. So you see that it's really a tough one. And that's why the president has approved the bill, just signing the bill for DICON. For us, we must produce what we need.
We must produce what we need. I'm going to get to manufacturing in a moment because you saw the headline yesterday in This Day newspaper, Nigerian newspaper of record, the trade numbers for Nigeria in the third quarter. The manufacturing disparity between imports and exports, just massive. But investment, insecurity, and the impact, right? And remember yesterday, just a reminder, we talked about Nasir El-Rufai's possible venture capital firm. Look at the bottom there. Fund focus, is it Kaduna and or wider Nigeria? And then can Kaduna attract investors? Kaduna now is in the headlines because of insecurity. So how do you even try to attract any investment based on that? Speaking of foreign direct investment, we'll focus more on that. The wealthiest man in Egypt, Mr. Nasiri, the company CEO or chief executive, is Nassef Sawiris. His net worth $7.6 billion. He's moving his NNS group, which is a venture capital firm, by the way, to Abu Dhabi. So he's re-domiciling the company from Cairo over to Abu Dhabi. And they've invested in a number of companies. Adidas is one of them and others. Here's his quotes, what he said in a statement that was released. I am delighted to announce our long-term commitment to the UAE, the importance of the UAE to the worldwide financial ecosystem makes NNS believe the transition of its key activities to the UAE will contribute to further development and growth of its portfolio and core activities. So this is, again, the wealthiest man in Egypt, $7.6 billion net worth, moving his family office headquarters from Egypt over to the UAE. So that's one country losing one family office and another one gaining it. UAE, of course, they're hosting the COP28. What else can we say? With Champeng Zhao, the CEO of Binance, Americans don't want it to run to the UAE because that's where he lives. A number of billionaires live in the UAE simply because of how attractive it is. More investment news. This one is a big one. Rio Tinto is going to invest $6.2 billion in an iron ore mine in Guinea. They've been looking at this for a number of years and they are now moving forward with it. They are partnering with a Chinese firm in terms of co-financing and manufacturing and so on and so forth for this particular mine. So Mr. Jacob Solsham, he spoke to, I really want you to listen to a Bloomberg interview where he gave justifications for why they're making this investment in Guinea.
It is, of course, expensive to build a new iron ore mine because you also have to build the infrastructure. But it is an iron ore of an exceptional quality, probably the highest quality on the planet, and only basically competes with the iron ore mine in northern Brazil. So it's the kind of ore for the future because a lot of the ore can go straight into a DIR, electric arc furnace process. process, and therefore you have much less CO2 emission. So it's attractive to get into our portfolio. It's a different quality than what we have in the Pilbara, and we also believe that there's space in the market for this new mine.
You do expect that China will hit peak steel consumption sometime soon, so this is not entirely a bet just on China?
No, well, there's a couple of things to say around that. First of all, the rest of the world is growing, and whereas China has been at what you call peak level of steel consumption, you can see that India is now coming up the curve, and they will need much more steel in the future as well. So in aggregate, the world will be growing, and don't forget, any mines they are at some stage running out of iron ore, so you have to keep on investing in new replacement mines just to sustain the level of production. We are the world's largest producer of iron ore, and as you will also have seen, we have just announced today a study of developing the Rhodes Ridge. We need to develop more in the Pilbara, and we are developing Simandou.
Incredible stuff. Some key points from that interview. One, Guinea has, according to him, the purest form of iron ore in the world. He said it's up there with Brazil, right? He also said that demand for iron ore is growing. He mentioned India. How many times will I mention India? He mentioned India. He mentioned China. He also says that existing iron ore mines are depleting. So, in fact, a quick word on Brazil. Brazil is a $1.6 trillion economy, and we talked about trying to get Nigeria to $1 trillion by 2030. Brazil they manufacture equipment in the aerospace field. They have their own version of Boeing and Airbus. Brazil is one of the largest sugar producers in the world. Brazil is joining OPEC next year, so they have oil. Brazil has some of the most gifted footballers on planet Earth. I mean, when you think about what a $1 trillion economy looks like, Brazil is the model, right? But beyond that, do you remember my wish list? I mentioned this back in August when Dele Alake was announced as the Minister of Solid Minerals, right? In my wish list, I said that they should try and get Elon Musk to come to Nigeria. Kogi State, I think Itakpe also has like deposits of iron ore. Yeah, there's the risk. I mentioned this back in August. What did I say? $1 billion lithium investment in Elon Musk. Attracting, look at the second point. I already mentioned them. Attracting mining giants Rio Tinto and BHP to Nigeria. Specific roadmap on ending solid mineral smuggling. Update on PAGME. That's that artisanal thing that was announced under the Buhari administration. Is it dead or alive? And a solid minerals development fund update. Guinea this is literally what we're seeing before our very eyes. And so what is the quality of our iron ore? Is that enough to attract a Rio Tinto? That's the roadmap there. Then to our trade. Remember what the General Christopher Musa said about needing to manufacture our own items. So this is our trade, right? Look at exports, 10.3 trillion. Your imports was 8.4. Total trade, 18.8. Our surplus, I think 1.8, almost 2 trillion naira. Now the thing is, if you dig in further into these numbers in our trade figures, looking at, I think, our imports first. Let's focus on manufacturing. Nigeria imported 3.9 trillion naira worth of manufactured goods into the country. 3.9, that's almost 4 trillion. Your other oil products, 2.8, so that's probably, what is it now? Refined petroleum. Then you've got your raw materials, 950 billion, agriculture, 643 billion. Keep these figures in mind. Now look at exports now. On the flip side, you are bringing in 3.5 trillion naira worth of manufactured goods. Look at what you're exporting. Only 200 billion. It's a massive disparity, and that is what the Major General Christopher Musa was talking about, in that we have to manufacture what we need here, so you're not spending vital foreign exchange on military equipment. So it is vital that the manufacturing sector is brought up. Look at solid minerals. 41 billion. There are individuals in this country that have more money than what Nigeria exported in solid minerals in a 3-month period. So essentially the manufacturing story, or the story of our, in fact, look, even looking at our total exports, look at crude oil, 8.5 trillion, look at other oil products, 1.1. Out of 10 trillion naira that you exported, crude oil and other oil products, other derivatives, made up over 90% of it. So we're still disproportionately dependent on crude. Finally, still, since I mentioned Elon Musk, okay, this is our trade surplus, so 1.89 trillion when you subtract imports from exports. But speaking of Elon Musk, he announced our trade partners. Again, Spain for exports. Spain, India, Netherlands, Indonesia, and France. This is our major export partners. This is top 5. The only African country in the top 10 was South Africa. If you flip it and look at imports, no surprise. Biggest importer from China, and then Belgium, India, Malta, United States. So there's a lot that still has to be done when we talk about the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, intra-Africa trade. You look at the trade numbers to see what the real deal is. We are still not trading enough within Africa. And then finally, okay, so Elon Musk now had an interview yesterday, talked about a low-cost electric vehicle that Tesla is going to be manufacturing. And then again, key, where is it being manufactured? The gigafactory in Texas and another gigafactory down the line in Mexico. So America and Mexico attracting Tesla to build factories for this low-cost car. Here he is.
Well, to add to the Elon Musk story, Elon Musk is also looking for equity funding for his XAI. And we're told that so far they've been able to get up to about $135 million from about 4 partners. So you see that in spite of the problems that he has with advertisers on X, he's still keeping he's pushing the envelope as an entrepreneur in terms of investment. About low-cost Tesla, well, you know, there is very competition with those electric vehicles, particularly from, you know, Chinese manufacturers of EVs. The point you were making about investment, Abu Dhabi, the richest Egyptian going to Abu Dhabi, the UAE. Well, the reason the billionaires are going to Abu Dhabi is because they've been able, the UAE has been able to turn that economy into an attractive space. And that's why, you know, Nigerians will want, we hear that there's COP28. Over 1,000 will go. The president of Namibia is going to COP28. He goes with 6 members of his family. But the thing that people should pay attention to is how the UAE has become such a major attraction. Exactly. You are talking about Guinea. Guinea, yes, as the gentleman pointed out, has the richest iron ore. They have these iron ore reserves, the Samradi iron ore, or is it Sampudira iron ore reserves there. Okay, but Guinea, ironically, is one of the poorest countries in the world.
True.
So the major challenge that these African countries have is that, yes, they are rich in resource. They provide raw materials. But the world will begin to take Africa seriously when these African countries become production centers, when they export value-added commodities. Value-added commodities. It's not for you to come and say, oh, you have exported crude oil, urea, and as Nigeria does, and that, oh, Q3 2023, Nigeria has done very well with exports, and then you import more from China and elsewhere in the world. No, that imbalance is part of the crisis we have in Africa. When we begin to export value-added commodities and we begin to diversify, we'll do better. And it's not enough for Rio Tinto to go to Guinea or to come to Nigeria if the people are poor.
Absolutely.
Well, I mean, there's no time. Just I would push back, but you have a point. You have a point. You have a point. Yeah,
I'm trying to say that. Thanks for spotlighting manufacturing. According to a UN report, countries like the BRICS nation, economic game changer was intensive investment in manufacturing industry. Man has come out a number of times to list out the challenges they face as a body, and that consistently we've seen a decline in the manufacturing sector's contribution to the GDP in Nigeria. So I wish we could have a more robust conversation about this, because we cannot grow as a nation if we don't look into manufacturing, and many economic factors working against it. But thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.